Hello everyone, welcome back to Survivor Talks with Mike. Today we will be covering the pillars of the game from Survivor Marquesas. Survivor is a game that is built upon three pillars. Those pillars represent the physical, strategic, and social aspects of the game. For my series, The Pillars of the Game, I will be looking at a season of Survivor and see which players best represent each pillar, and who best touches on all three. I won't overlap players, so while the player who is best overall might also be the best physical player, I will only choose them to represent one of those pillars. In Survivor Marquesas, the contestants that made it far didn't really seem to stand out too much, so fitting them into these categories was not an easy task, with multiple players having elements of the pillars, but not really representing them outright. Starting with the strategic pillar, the strategic portion represents the player that was making the right decisions to get them to the end, using what advantages they can get to give them the best opportunities to get to the end, whether that's forming the right alliances or properly using an immunity idol. This season had one of the biggest advances in strategic play, but it's tough to narrow down who deserves the credit. Boston Rob obviously brought a lot to the table with his aggressive play style and wanting only players he could control to stick around. He managed to get his rival Hunter voted out early, but after the tribe swap, his unwillingness to be adaptable put him at the bottom. John was playing the strategic game that had won in the previous 3 seasons, but he got cocky and ended up being on the wrong end of the first ever flip. Nalia, seeing her and Pascal were at the bottom of their alliance and convinced him to flip with her. Vesepia diminished the target on herself whenever she was at the bottom and smartly used her luxury item to hack an immunity win at the final four. The person I'll give the pillar of strategy to, however, is Sean. He is the player that I think most visibly makes the first ever flip happen by pointing out to Nalia and Pascal where they stood in their alliance. I think at the tribal council when John is voted out, it seems pretty clear that the flip is viewed by everyone as his move. Moving on to the physical pillar, the physical portion can be also defined as the challenge beast of the season. Who performed the best in the challenges? I'll tend to give more weight to the individual challenges, but the tribal challenges will also factor in. This is the first season that doesn't really have any one person that dominates in the challenges. When it comes to individual immunities, Kathy, Tammy, and Vesepia each won 2, while Robert and Nalia won 1. We can, however, see a bit more for the physical game in the tribal stage as the Rotu tribe dominated, winning all but one immunity challenge. So with all that said, it narrows my choice down to just Tammy, as she was with Rotu the entire time. Moving on to the social pillar. The social portion of the game represents the player that best connected with others and was most favored by the jury. This player had the trust of the other castaways and could convince others to side with them. This season seemed to have a big emphasis on the social part of the game. At a glance, it might seem like Nalia, being the sweet pea nice girl, might have a strong social game, but her talking about the yacht reward and then offering everyone a nibble on her chewed on mint put her entirely out of contention for the social pillar. Pascal seems like a pretty good choice too, but his potentially racially charged comments he made towards Sean and Vesepia took him out of contention for me. Kathy was very close to being my choice, as by the end everyone seemed to like her, but her bossiness rubbed too many people the wrong way at the start. So that left me with the winner, Vesepia, and if any one of these categories was obvious, it would be Vesepia for her social game. She got into the majority alliance in her initial Maraamu tribe, but then after the swap, instead of fighting against the other Rotus like Rob and Sean did, she integrated herself into the tribe. Her social game is perhaps never better showcased than in the Fallen Comrades challenge, where she reveals that she has been taking notes on every single player throughout the season in her poetry book, and she's gotten to know everyone throughout the season pretty well. By bonding with every single player, it allowed her to have multiple options for moving forward through the game. Onto the overall pillar. The best overall player is the one who best exemplifies a mix of the three categories. It could mean they dominated in all three categories, or that they were just an okay player, but they utilized each of the three pillars to some degree. While last season had every player towards the end being pretty good overall, this season most of the players seem to have some flaw to their game. Nalia had social issues, Pascal didn't really do anything strategically, Sean created too many enemies by being outspoken, and all the Rotu 4 got flipped against by behaving too cocky. That leaves us with Vesepia and Kathy, and since I already gave Vesepia the social pillar, the overall has to go to Kathy. As I said, in the physical, she won 2 individual immunities and was undefeated with Rotu until she got swapped to the Maraamu tribe. Strategy is likely her weakest category. She was involved in the flip, but she wasn't shown as being too involved with the actual move, other than Sean asking her if she's in. And she didn't really have any other options anyways, as she was near the bottom already and was probably going to go next after Sean. She did, however, voice her options later at both the final 6, where she could have gone with Robert and team up with Sean and Vesepia against Nalia and Pascal. Though she doesn't pull the trigger, it at least shows that she's thinking through which direction she should take to get to the end. At the final 5, she has placed herself in the swing vote position and is able to decide which path she feels better going forward with. Socially, she struggled early on by being too bossy, but she recovered by the end and was the favorite to win by the jury had she made it to the final 2. That covers our pillars of the game for Season 4 Marquesas. This was the toughest one to choose for yet, as none of these players immediately popped to mind for any of these categories. To reiterate, that was Sean for strategic, Tammy for physical, Vesepia for social, and Kathy for overall. This marks the first time the winner has been from the social pillar, so we'll continue to note which pillar the winner ends up in for each season. That's all I got for this one. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, hit like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe.